everyone. I'm Carmen.
And I'm Dustin.
We're only laughing because I took a picture accidentally instead of starting the video. All right, so we wanted to tell you guys our story about PPCM, postpartum cardiomyopathy. It's a type of heart failure that only affects pregnant women. And on July 25th, 2017, our lives essentially changed forever. So before we tell you a little bit about that, we kind of need to give you guys some background. We have 3 kids. When I was pregnant with my third, when I found out I was pregnant with my third, I had a 5-year-old and a 7-month-old. And finding out I was pregnant with my third was a bit of surprising news. As some
You
of
caught
can
that right,
imagine.
7 months.
7 months.
We found out we were
We
pregnant.
were not ready. But are you ever ready, I guess? So we definitely came around to the idea of having another baby and got excited. We decided actually that this was going to be our last and that we were not going to find out if it was a boy or a girl.
Right.
Which was kind of fun. We did
Bound
find
to
out with
determine.
our first 2.
I thought that she'd figured it out, but she didn't.
I didn't.
She swears
I
up
didn't.
and down she didn't.
I didn't. I wanted to be surprised as well. It's always been my dream just to kind of find out when you have the baby. So anyways, during the pregnancy, some weird things happened. Like I was sleeping upright from like 6 months on. Like literally like you're sitting in a chair like I am now.
Stealing all my pillows and like stacking them up behind her.
Yeah. But so I basically did not sleep very much during my pregnancy. Your pregnancy.
And your hands were swollen.
Yeah, so my hands would swell up and hurt, but by midday they were fine. And I was struggling to breathe, like going up and down the stairs. But essentially, besides that, like no gestational IVs, no high blood pressure, none of that stuff.
Preeclampsia.
Yeah, none of that. So when I went to OB and was telling them things, they're like, well, this is your 3rd pregnancy, and you probably have carpal tunnel, and the breathing can be kind of normal. So I was like, okay. But I was like, of course, something else is wrong because I did have preeclampsia my first and a slight case of gestational diabetes my second. So, why not we just throw a wrench in
Round
the
it out.
Yeah.
Carpal tunnel.
Also, with the third, I was extremely ill, like sick every single day. Like I threw up in my kitchen sink, like it would taste like acid more times than I could count. Probably even the day I had her. It was fun.
Yeah.
So I kept telling him, this better be a girl, because we wanted a girl and I wanted a girl and this was my last and I'm not going to be an all-boy mom. I'm having a girl. So July 22nd, which was a Saturday, I played bunco that night and won $50. Yay.
Woohoo.
And then we went to church next morning on the 23rd, and I wasn't feeling that great, but I was like, can we just go ahead and go? Like, as soon as service ended, I was like, I need to get my eyebrows waxed because this baby's coming soon. I know it.
She had the feeling.
Yeah, and I wanted to get lunch.
Intuition.
So I went home and took a nap. We took our kids out for a while and came back, and I said, I'm still not feeling well. I feel like I need to go get checked. And so we get there, and it definitely was a smart move because my blood pressure was crazy high.
Yes, it was.
Which, of course, I'm not even realizing he's seeing. And I'm just like, is this happening? So, and then a nurse came in. She put an IV in. She's like, just in case we need to take any blood. I was like, oh, okay. Like, flying over my head.
I knew what was going on.
Yeah. And then the nurse practitioner comes in and says, so, you're not dilated or anything, but your blood pressure is high. And so the doctor came in and said, you have 2 choices. You can either be monitored for 24 hours or you can have a baby. And I said, let's have a baby.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, we don't know what he
We
or
were
she
excited
is.
to find out what it was, yeah.
Yeah, so we were ready. And I wasn't feeling great, so I was just ready to be done. Come find out it was a girl.
It was. I got to announce it in the delivery room. Her C-section.
She was perfect, Eleanor June.
Yeah.
And everything seemed great for the first couple of days. Like, I was nursing her. She was healthy. I was feeling good. I was recovering great. And then Tuesday, July 25th comes. And that morning, Dustin actually had a procedure, just like a small procedure to get his toenail removed.
I had an ingrown toenail,
Yeah.
and it was bothering me.
Yeah.
And I went and saw a doctor about it, and he's like, you can get that taken off. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm like, sure, let's do it. So I asked her, I was like, hey, everything's good. Getting rest. Let me go, and is it okay if I keep this medical appointment? And she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I wasn't even around when everything started turning bad.
So I was holding my baby, and I kind of passed out for a few minutes and didn't realize until the lady came to bring me lunch. So somehow I started realizing I'm not feeling good and I'm having trouble catching my breath. So I managed to go put my daughter back in the bassinet. I texted him and said, don't go home afterwards. Please come back. I'm not feeling well. And then I had called the nurse and said, you need to come get my baby. I'm not feeling well. And within 30 seconds, she was in there. At the same time, he's texting me going, are you okay? But I can't respond because at that point, like, I couldn't breathe. And she had laid me down flat. That made it worse. I was like laying on my left, like clenching the side of the bed, like towards the door. And at some point, within 30, 40 seconds later, the nurse had already called for help. Like 30 or 40 seconds later, there were like 20 people in my room, including my OB. So basically, they were thinking I was having a pulmonary embolism or something because I just had a baby. I'd had surgery, and I had all my IVs removed, so they were sticking IVs back in just so they could get blood, taking X-rays, trying to put a oxygen mask on me, which I'd never used before, and I was fighting it off, saying I'm gonna get sick. They're like, don't worry about it, I'll clean it up. And I don't know when Dustin exactly arrived, but he
with
was
my medication hobbling because I had the toenail removed.
Holding his medication bag nice and tight. Just standing off to the side. And, you know, he later told me I felt helpless. I felt like you didn't want me or need me, but that wasn't it. I couldn't breathe. I had no idea what was going on. And I felt helpless myself. I literally yelled out at one point, I'm going to die. Can't you just knock me out? And then I just closed my eyes with like tears rolling down my face and just prayed to God, prayed that he would let me be able to just breathe in this mask. And instantly I was able to. And then they were able to stabilize me very quickly and get me to the ICU. Within minutes, a cardiologist was able to figure out I had fluid on my lungs and my heart. They did not give us a diagnosis exactly, but they kind of knew that it was probably this type of heart failure. And they had told my OB. My OB has seen this one other time in our practice. I now know who that one other person is. And her husband was actually working with Dustin. I had no idea. But she told me straight up right then and there, don't have any more babies. And I was like, well, I'm not planning on it. He's getting fixed in like a month. Like, we're done. And so that wasn't hurtful to hear at first. But I still am not realizing like full capacity of what's going on. I'm worried about my baby. Can I nurse her? Is she okay? Things like that. And they tell us they have to transfer us to the heart hospital about 30 minutes away, just to be extra safe. And so I was able to like hug my child and see her for a little bit, and then they transferred us via ambulance.
It's kind of fun.
Bucket list check off. And
sirens going, whole nine.
So I get to the ICU at the other hospital, and they tell me I'm going to be in there about a week. And I'm still not really comprehending what's going on with me. And I basically have all the doctors see me, like rock star status for all the wrong reasons. You know, pulmonologist, cardiologist, OB, anybody you think of was coming to see me. They were all expecting me to come in. And they basically tell me, you know, it'll be fine, and I'm probably going to be here for a week. We're going to get you on the right meds. And I'm like, can I nurse my child? That's all I kept asking. Can I nurse my baby? And they're like, as of right now, but our priority is you. You know, and of course, I feel like my priority was her. But what I also didn't know is at the other hospital, Dustin's mom was there in the waiting room. She's been a nurse forever, and so she kind of understood things as well. And she had called my mom, and my mom was on a plane on the way to see me. And he was kind of like breaking down in between, you know, just and melting down, but it's being really strong for me. So I had no idea all this is going on behind the scenes, which is kind of heartbreaking and hard to hear and know that your spouse, you know, is emotional, which makes you emotional. So in the ICU that night, I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink. I basically would only have a little bit of crackers and a little bit of water. They tried several times, and I'm like, I just don't want to. I was miserable. And when my mom got there, I told her, I can't wait for you to meet her, Mom. Can't wait for she's so beautiful. She's so perfect. And then the next hour,
still is.
And still is. And then the next hour, I'm saying, why did this happen to me? Why? Because 3 months before I got pregnant, I had a stress test, like full-blown stress test from a cardiologist with a treadmill, and I was perfectly healthy. So the next day, things became pretty clear to us. My ejection fracture when I came to the heart hospital was 16%. By the next day, it was 28.
Mm-hmm.
They
It's a big
said,
jump.
yeah, it was a huge jump. And they said, that is awesome, but you probably won't see another jump like that. It'll probably just slowly come up.
Normal is like 60-ish.
Yeah, 55, 60, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is normal heart function. It's not 100%. Um,
Which is weird, but
yeah, it's different, yeah. So within 24 hours, I was out of the ICU onto the heart failure floor.
which was crazy because they told us it was going to be a week in ICU.
Mm-hmm. In the ICU, though, Dustin had no problem asking nurses for gauze and everything else for
I
his
had
toe.
a toe to take care of.
His toe was very important, my friends.
It was
Very important.
hideous looking, and they had the best gauze there. They really did. It didn't stick to the skin or anything. It
I
was
mean, he
really
actually
cool.
said at one point, I mean, we're very, like, dark humor people. Like, we laugh about, like, very serious issues, but it's the way we, like, get
The
through life,
nurses
right?
were just as concerned eventually of my toe as they were of
They
her.
did. They asked about his toe before they asked about me. There's a problem. But, you know, he actually said at one point, like, here I am concerned about my toe. My wife's going through heart failure. But it was fine. It was fine. So when we get to heart failure floor, I finally feel like eating. My mom got me Subway. I was allowed to eat Subway. And, you know, things started to improve by there. I still had kind of bad nights, like, why is this happening to me and things like that. But I got there on Tuesday night, Tuesday late afternoon, and I was home by dinner time on Saturday.
Yep.
I wasn't even, it was literally a week. My daughter was a week and I was home. She got home before I did, so that was a little rough for me, but she got to visit me in the heart hospital. And
The doctors were so happy to give us that news that we were able to go home, that Carmen had turned it around so well, so quickly. They just didn't know what to say. So it was a blessing.
And I mean, I guess I kind of skipped over this part, is that the way that you basically get rid of the fluid is they give you Lasix, and they give it to me through IV. So basically, you just pee it out. And, you know, you have to have a catheter for a while. And then, like, I just had it in for 24 hours while I was there. And then, as long as I can pee on my own, it was fine, right? I mean, TMI, but you kind of need to know those things, what we go through. And then I was on meds, and I could no longer take Motrin. I can only take Tylenol products because of the heart medication, still today. And so I was kind of recovering from a C-section that I just had less than a week prior with no meds. But I made it through, and I was fine, and it all worked out. So 3.5 weeks later, maybe just about 3 weeks later, we go to the cardiologist, and he does another echo. He could tell I was feeling better, and he got to come in and
Give us the good news. He said this is the kind of news that heart failure doctors would love to give all the time, but don't get to. But essentially, you know, for all intents and purposes, you're recovered. You don't have
55,
heart
60%.
failure anymore. Obviously, with the exception of having to take medication for potentially the rest of her life, she was basically back to normal.
Yeah, but that was the greatest news. I just don't want you guys to think, though, that my journey ended there. It definitely didn't. For the next year, I kind of went through like a ball of emotions, of being sad. Did I really go through this? Is this really happening? Why did this happen to me? Just crying because I was so happy that I was there with my children, just looking at them, things like that. I
What
mean,
was most apparent to me was that she was missing out on breastfeeding. Our little baby
and that was a
girl.
big deal for me because now I know that's not for everybody, but for me, that I knew as my last child, it was really important to me. It was important to me with my other children, and so I was not
She
able
couldn't
to do
because
that.
of the medication.
Yeah, because I wanted the meds. So, you know, but healthy baby, and that's what's important. So, also, what I want you guys to know is that not all women with PPCM survive. Some do die. Not all of them recover as fast as me. In fact, it's very rare to recover as fast as I do. Some take years. Some have to have heart transplants. Some have to have just other surgeries to help their heart pump blood properly. And they don't know the exact reason that PPCM happens to women. They just know it's caused by pregnancy. It's not a certain age. There are 18-year-olds with this, and there are 40-year-olds with this. You know, there's not an age. It's not a specific type of person. You know, so they think it might be linked to some kind of genetic, but they can't like identify that gene because no one in either one of our families has dealt with heart failure or even have like that in their like far distant families. So the unfortunate part is that all the symptoms mask pregnancy symptoms, not being able to breathe, and just like, struggling to breathe just because of being big and pregnant, or getting sick, or things like that.
Swollen.
Yeah, swollen hands and things, So typically with a PPCM person, though, blood pressure will be extremely low. Mine was not. Mine was just normal. But sitting upright is a big one. It's a really big one.
When sleeping, yeah.
Yeah. So, people ask all the time, what can I do to help? How can I do this? I encourage each and every one of you to share the fire out of this video. And just because it doesn't affect you or anybody it doesn't mean it won't affect others. And also, if you're so inclined, check out the nonprofit organization called Save the Mommies. It was started by a woman named Deanna Stewart. She is a PPCM survivor, and her main goal with this nonprofit organization is to bring light to this particular type of heart failure and hopefully get a law passed that when women are pregnant at a certain stage, that they'll do the blood draw for what is called a BMP. And it's just as simple as that, just like gestational diabetes. And it's called BMP, and it shows if somebody's in heart failure. A simple blood test during pregnancy can save someone's life. It can save the baby's life, the mom's life. It can save people from traumatic experiences such as that I experienced. And it really can change the way that we do things. It can change life. So definitely check that out. It's called Save the Mommies. And if you're so inclined to donate to them, they are a nonprofit organization. Every single penny helps get the word out. And I think that's it. That's our journey, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so our journey still continues. So follow us or follow me. He's not a social media person.
Really not.
Follow me on Instagram and stuff like that. But I talk about this stuff all the time. But also just our normal daily crazy lives with 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks, friends, for tuning in. Have a great day.
Bye.